Hello, welcome to the conversation in News Central Television. I am Benga Borowa. We apologize for starting slightly behind schedule. On the show today, we will be looking at the electoral atmosphere in Zimbabwe as Nelson Chamisa has expressed worries of the ruling party violation of the law and tearing apart independent institutions to cling to power. Also, we will look at updates on the coup in Niger as Accuses believes that diplomacy remains the best way to tackle the crisis, ruling out the possibility of a military intervention. But first, we begin in Zimbabwe, where main opposition leader Nelson Chamisa accused President Emmerson Mnangagwa of disregarding the law and dismantling independent institutions to maintain its grip on power. Chamisa, who will challenge Mnangagwa in the upcoming elections, expressed concern over potential tampering by the ruling party and the ensuing consequences for a nation already grappling with economic turmoil and international sanctions. He asserted that widespread intimidation, manipulation of institutions, and violence were undermining the democratic process and driving the country towards instability. Now, joining me this evening for this discussion, I have Tawanda Mutungama, political activist, who joins us live from Harare in Zimbabwe. A warm welcome to you, Tawanda, and thanks for joining us on the conversation.
Thank you, Benga.
Now, Tawanda, with Zimbabwe's main opposition leader, Nelson Chamisa of the CCC, accusing President Mnangagwa of violating the law and manipulating independent institutions, can you provide us with an analysis of the current power struggle and its implications for the upcoming elections in Zimbabwe?
My input will be to say we've had one government for the past 43 years, or one party governing for the last 43 years. And considering it has been one government which has been ruling, or one party which has been ruling, if there are changes, it will be a tectonic shift from one party to the other. And a tectonic shift is not expected to be an easy shift. And power is not just handed from one person to the other just smoothly. It can be very difficult. And the change can be a big change. So to expect that it will be like a warm knife going through butter is expecting much. And also, considering 43 years is almost half a century, it's there are things that have been entrenched in the nation, and there are institutions which have roots which have gone down in the nation. So changes cannot be expected to be so easy. So for the opposition to expect an easy run, we'll be expecting quite a lot. So I think, yes, it is expected that it can be a difficult run, and they would need to work hard if any change is to happen.
I mean, but when you talk, thank you, Tawanda, for that introduction. ZANU-PF has been there for 43 years, and change is never easy to come by. But talking about working hard, in his recent interview, Nelson Chamisa highlighted the role of institutions like the police and the courts in suppressing opposition voices. There's something called lawfare. Can you delve deeper into how these institutions have been used to consolidate power and what this means for the democratic process in Zimbabwe? Because I believe state institutions are not necessarily ZANU-PF or CCC. They should work for all Zimbabweans, regardless of political affiliation.
You're very right, Benga, to say that state institutions should work for the people or for the citizens of a nation. However, if for half a century one party has been governing and high-level positions normally are appointed roles, it would be expecting or asking for too much to think that people who have worked together for half a century would let each other would not support each other, because people have built relationships, people have have vested interests and investments. So and people know each other. So with that, it makes it very difficult for positions which come as appointments or which are rewarded not necessarily because of excellence in the work, but which are rewarded for loyalty and for supporting certain individuals. So in that, it makes it difficult for total independence in either the judiciary or any other of the other state institutions. So what is happening is actually probably a shift from one generation to the other, which is a natural thing which happens in life. Even in families, it comes a time when the elders will have to hand over to the younger generation. And if we are to look half a century ago, which is like the 43 years ago, the country, like to make coffee, probably you could not have instant coffee. And to write a letter, you'd need to send a message, need to write a letter, go to the post office,
Snail mail.
and then probably 2 weeks later, a message is received. But today we have WhatsApp, we've got Twitter, so things have totally changed, and the generations have changed. Everyone has got a cell phone, everyone has internet access, so it's inevitable that the country is shifting, but whether it's shifting within the ruling party or it will shift to the opposition, the shift from one generation to the other is happening, and I expect it is happening now. Thank you.
Thank you, Tawanda. I'd like to bring in our second guest in this panel discussing elections in Zimbabwe, Tapi Wanashe Chiriga, Advocacy Officer, Hill Zimbabwe Trust. He also joins from the Zimbabwean capital, Harare. Tapi Wanashe, a warm welcome to you and thanks for joining us on the program. Can you kindly unmute your device, please? Yes,
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes.
Thank you very much for having me. Good evening.
Good evening to you. Now, Tapi Wanashe, the claim of widespread intimidation against the opposition party, the Triple C, has raised concerns about the fairness of the upcoming elections in Zimbabwe, particularly in rural areas. Could you elaborate more on the dynamics at play and the potential impact of such intimidation on voter turnout and the overall electoral landscape in Zimbabwe?
Thank you very much. I hope I am very much audible. In Zimbabwe, ZANU-PF, the ruling party, has abused for a long time the security sector, number one, and number two, it has also abused traditional leaders in as far as ensuring that they win elections through the harvest of fear, what some scholars in Zimbabwe have called the margin of terror and the margin of error, which is through rigging, of course. Right now, as we approach the 2023 harmonized elections on 23 August 2023, you can tell through our...
Okay, Tapi Wanashe, we seem to have lost audio connection with you. I would like to bring back Tawanda into the conversation. Now, Tawanda, the Triple C leader, Nelson Chamisa's assertion that President Mnangagwa is driving Zimbabwe into chaos and instability is quite a strong statement to make. Could you provide a nuanced assessment of the current state of stability in Zimbabwe, taking into account recent events and historical context? Hello, Tawanda, can you hear me? Okay. Tawanda, do we have, can you confirm if I have your audio connection? Okay, you're watching the conversation on News Central Television, and we've been discussing the political environment in Zimbabwe as we inch towards the general elections happening later this month. We'll go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue our discussion. Do stay with us. Uh, I think we should wrap this up. Yes. I mean, one of them can just wrap up. Wow. So Niger gets this. Welcome back to the conversation in News Central Television. And we're currently discussing the political atmosphere in Zimbabwe, where the opposition Triple C party is accusing President Mnangagwa and the ZANU-PF of intimidation. And I still have here with me Tapi Wanashe and Tawanda Mutungama, political activist. Now, Tawanda, as we wrap up this conversation, Triple C's Nelson Chamisa calls for President Emmerson Mnangagwa to address the concerns raised by the opposition and international human rights groups. He echoes a plea for a more inclusive and peaceful political environment. How likely is it that such calls will be heeded, and what consequences could arise if they're ignored?
From my perspective, I would say these calls would be heeded for, because it's important to have a credible election. Because once it's credible, it means the next 5 years where the president will be governing, or whoever becomes president is governing, will become credible and respectable. Because and by being credible as a leader, you gain a lot of power. You can make difficult decisions if you are credible and you have evidence of being elected by people who love you, who are many, and also your opponents are supporting the process and are accepting the results. So it is in the interest of the Zimbabwean government to answer to the calls which are being made on reforms or on things that are required to give credibility. Because by so doing, the government will become so powerful, it can get loans, it can get sanctions removed, it can get investors come into the country, invest in the country and create jobs. It can create a market economy which allows those who are achieving to be free to choose who they want to be and to be free to choose what they want to be and be free to prosper. So it is in the interest of the government to allow credibility in these elections. So it's likely that the calls will be heeded true. And evidence that the calls will be heeded true is, for example, the 12 candidates from Bulawayo who were about to be removed from the ballot, but were finally reinstated on the ballot. So there's interest that the calls by the oppositions by the opposition will be heeded to give credibility to the election. Thank you.
Yes, Tawanda, still talking about the upcoming elections in Zimbabwe, the European Union and the African Union will be monitoring the elections. They're going to send observer missions to Zimbabwe. There are concerns about their ability to cover all regions effectively. Tawanda, could you elaborate on the significance of having international observers to observe the proceedings of the elections, and also the potential limitation they might face during this monitoring process?
So if the observers are given free access to everything which pertains to the election, again, the observers can vouch for the election, to say, you know, this election was free and fair. And once they say that, the presidents become so important, so powerful. And when they are negotiating with the European Union, or they are negotiating with the American government to have a review of the sanctions, it becomes so easy, like a butter, like a knife through butter, because they've been elected by the people. And this is the essence of democracy. So democracy is government of the people, and it's allowing the people to choose who governs them. And once that is done, it allows for even difficult decisions to be done. Like, for example, if economically we need to do austerity measures, if the people have chosen you and are supporting you, and the rest of the world knows that you are the legitimate representative of a country, you have support in the country and outside the country.
This is where we've come to the end of this segment of the conversation we've been discussing the upcoming elections in Zimbabwe, and also the opposition saying that accusing the ruling party of intimidation and not creating a free and fair atmosphere for the elections to take place. I'd like to say thank you to our distinguished guest, Tawanda Mutunga, political activist, joins us live from Harare, Zimbabwe, and also Tapiwanashe Chiriga, advocacy officer, Hill Zimbabwe Trust, also joining from the Zimbabwean capital, Harare. This is The Conversation in News Central.